You know, really, I was the kid that made the lawnmower make more noise. I took the muffler off my mom's car, messed with my bicycle. But you know, a little bit later on, you know, I was interested in things that make noise and go fast, and kind of got into my STEM career in aviation by virtue of, you know, that very thing. I was handy with my hands, and I wanted to work on something that was pretty cool. And so it was just mechanical interest, that basic boredom with anything else other than things that make noise. My first job in STEM, I'd have to say officially, was my first aircraft mechanic job, and that was working on small airplanes, and a long time ago, and that was my first introduction to my actual STEM career. I think the best way to get involved in a career in STEM, obviously you have an interest in manufacturing and working with materials and making something, working on something, fabricating something, you like nuts and bolts, that kind of a thing. The best way to move that idea forward to something to make money, of course there's the military, and you know, a lot of people go in the military to be a pilot, but in the military you can kind of point yourself different directions. Some of our mechanics here in the shop were military, and they worked on aircraft in the military. There are technical schools, a lot of tech schools all over the country, specific to aviation. There are A&P programs, airframe power plant licensing programs, and junior college level and dedicated technical school level.
I believe it was the military. I went to join the military and got into aviation that way as an air crewman and an airframer. Did that for about 6 years, and after that, I mean, I fell in love with aircraft, so I think it was meant to be. I've worked here at Airspray for almost a year now. At first, I mean, started off as a kid. I mean, you're always looking up in the sky at any type of aircraft that's flying over, whether it's helicopters or airplanes or even jets, going to air bases that have air shows going on. I mean, you just fall in love with it. If you love it, you're gonna love it right away. So, I mean, after that, I think it was just a love for aviation that I followed ever since. And then joining the military just made me fall in love that much more.
My favorite part about working in my STEM career, it's working with people, a lot of people with a like interest and the similar mission. I like working with the equipment, aircraft. It's a fun thing to do. I think having the gratification at the end of the day of what you've done, because you've done something with your hands. You've done more than type a letter or a memo or get somebody to go do something. You actually accomplish something, and you take something that's broken, you fix it. You take something that's just parts and pieces, and you assemble something. There's a great amount of satisfaction in actually getting something done, and end of the day, I get to watch it fly away.
I wanted to find a career that was detail-oriented and that the public felt was really important. You know, their safety, the importance of safety in the airline industry. And I wanted to find a career that I could be a real expert at and be licensed. So all of those things were appealing to me in looking at being a licensed A&P mechanic. My job right now as being an apprentice is just learning everything I can. So jumping in and getting my hands involved with anything that's going on in the shop. Of course, there's a fair amount of grunt work that needs to be done to keep such a big operation like this going. So, you know, I sweep floors, I roll up hoses, but there's also a lot of other good learning opportunities for me that I've had here. Just last night, I got in from a 6-day trip where we were in Oregon and Washington doing 100-hour inspections on 3 different airplanes. So I was actually doing mechanic work, changing fuel filters, doing inspections on different electrical components all last week. So, you know, it's a very It's a varied position being in the apprentice that I am, but once I get licensed, there'll be more and more of that hands-on mechanical jobs to be done.
A&P is the licensing. It's the airframe and power plant is a license that the federal government gives you after testing and a certain number of school hours or work hours, and you pass the government testing and you receive an airframe license and a power plant license. And so that licensure together allows you, it gives you that certificate, so to speak, that I can hire you in my shop and you can sign off your work against your license. Other than that, you're just a trainee, an apprentice, and you don't have any authority and you can't go as far. Pay for an A&P mechanic starts in the range of $70,000, $80,000 a year for an A&P license. A&P mechanic, A&P license is a 2-year technical school. Work in my shop for 18 months, 18 to 30 months, and I can sign you off to go take A&P testing with the FAA. So that's our starting point licensure. There's avionics in different technical areas that you can also get into in aviation, aerospace.
To become a licensed mechanic, the FAA sets out their regulations on getting that license. There's 2 different ways you can do it. One is to work for a certain amount of hours. I think it's around 2,000 hours of hands-on experience at a facility. And the other way, which is the way that I'm going to go, is to go to school. There are some shorter, like 15-month programs, and then there's quite a few community colleges that have two-year programs. So I'm looking at the 2-year option of training, and then after that you can go and take the 3 different tests that are required to get licensed. I would tell them to go out and just get as much experience doing different things as they can. Don't think that you have to have an answer right now. Go out and try different things, and if you like what you're doing, keep on pushing that forward, and if you like that, keep on pushing it forward and keep on pushing it forward. And if you find at some time that you're not getting the enjoyment you want out of it, you're probably still pretty young and you can go and look for something that you really enjoy. There's a whole lot of different opportunities and different things that can be done out there for people that have different interests, even within the aviation community. We have people that mostly deal with regulations and paperwork here, and we have people that mostly deal with mechanics, and others that mostly deal with inventory. There's a whole realm of things.
In the North State specifically, there's a lot of manufacturing around things you wouldn't think. Olive plants, there's machinery in olive plants. I went and visited Sierra Packaging and cardboard boxes, and it's amazing the amount of STEM involved, the machinery, the programming, the interface with computer programming, machines in general. It's amazing. In the North State, we have a great mixture of manufacturing type jobs, and I think it's really important for a person to consider getting into a STEM career, manufacturing of many different types. You can go to the big city, and there are STEM type jobs there. That might be your first location where you have to go to work. But out of the North State area, out here in Chico and spread out areas, it's great to work in a community where you can drive home for 10 minutes and be home, 10 minutes and be to work. I mean, commute 30 miles a day and it only takes 20 minutes. It's really different than the large city areas. So I think it's important to pursue manufacturing jobs in the North State just for quality of life and satisfaction of where you are and what you get to do.
I love the country life. I mean, here up in Chico, in the mountains, you get the mountains and 3 hours to the beach. I mean, it's the crowds, traffic. Up here, it's just so peaceful. My whole family has lived up here for 20 years now, so it's home. Yep. And yeah, it's just nice. It's a nice place to live. Go down to your local airport. I would go down there, ask questions, maybe go to FSDO and FAA, FSDO office and ask questions, maybe looking to getting an AMP or even a pilot. Any type of aviation, I would just start asking questions. Any airport would be the place to start.
I was the kid in the back of the class. I was not destined to be very successful, but I liked tinkering with things, and I wasn't paying attention to the bookwork, English, math, etc. It wasn't until I engaged what I already had on board, and there's a whole bunch of people that are already geniuses. They're not doing good in school maybe, but they're geniuses in other ways. And I engaged that interest in things, in STEM. And then the math came up, the interest in the formula to get to something. Then I learned the math because I wanted to get something done, and it had to do with hydraulics and electricity. And so, you know, don't discount your academic abilities. Don't discount your socioeconomic position. I was a welfare kid. There's ways to make it. We're in a wonderful country that offers opportunity, and there's lots of opportunity in manufacturing, more than you realize. You just got to express an interest. We hired a kid here recently who just emailed me and pursued me, and I said, we'll give you a shot in the shop. We'll make you an intern, and he's going to go on to A&P school and get his licensing. It just takes fortitude and not discounting where you're at from where you want to go. Just do it. Take that first step and pursue your interests in STEM. Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Robbie Sape. I'm General Manager with Airspray USA here in Chico. And I want to give you a real quick little tour of one of our jet engines off of one of our air tanker aircraft. This is an ALF 502R5. It's about 3,500 horsepower. In thrust numbers and horsepower, there's a really fun mathematical equation you can do. But I'll just tell you, give you a little tour of how this thing works and where we're going. This is what you see when you look at the front of the engine on a big jet airplane at the airport. This is the fan. It is actually a multi-layered propeller. It's where the air is drawn in and pushed back behind the airplane to draw the airplane through the air. This area is always a lot bigger than the actual jet engine. So this fan turns like a propeller, draws the air in, and we create thrust just by air being drawn and pushed back. You come over this way, there's accessories here. There's an igniter box for the igniters to start the jet engine up, oil cooler, fuel system, filters and stuff like that. So the real unique part of this engine is this is actually where all the power is produced, right here in this area. The engine is only this big. This is just a big fan case, and it draws and pushes the air. This is the gas generator and the power producing part of the engine. This is a compressor area. There's 7 stages of small little compressor wheels that spin and pack the air tighter and tighter and tighter. So this will suck the air in for the jet engine, pack the air really tight, spit that high pressure air into this section, mix it with fuel, and that's where we get the ignition and we torch it. And then as soon as you torch that highly compressed hot air with gas, with fuel, boom, you get that explosion. It's a constant, it's like a torch, and it is constantly exploding. So we'll push that exploding hot gas over 4 turbine wheels back here, and as it tries to exit out of the back of the engine, it's spinning. Come over here and take a look at this. It's going to spin this rear stage turbine wheel. So this rear wheel, as I turn this, and this is just one wheel, there's 4 of them, and this is the last one. So whatever's left over from producing all of that thrust turns this wheel, which turns the big fan up front. So all the power that's flying the jet through the air is hot gas exploding over turbine wheels, creating a bootstrap effect, which pulls in, spins the compressor, which pulls air in to compress it, to spit it through to the turbine, to blow it up out the back. And whatever's left over from that process turns this 4th stage turbine wheel. This is the power turbine. So when this power turbine is impacted with that escaping gas, it turns the fan up front, which draws the air in the big fan and pushes it out all the way around. So that whole area around the engine is where the thrust is going. This actually doesn't produce much thrust at all. On your military jet, where you put the afterburners, it is a pure axial flow jet engine. This jet engine and all of the jet engines on passenger aircraft produce power to turn a big fan. So it's a kind of a unique system. You don't think about that. You think that big fan out front is the jet engine. It's just the fan drawing the air. So like I said, you produce a lot of torque power, and that power that's produced creates about 3,500 horsepower. A couple thousand pounds of thrust is where that comes from. So that's a little tour through one of our jet engines, and I hope you enjoyed it.